Hello world, welcome to the channel. Today we are going to explore about something we all take for granted. Smartphones. Majority of you would be watching this video right now on a smartphone. But have you ever stopped to think about how all this works? How is it recognizing your fingerprint? How does the screen recognize your touch? How does a phone know that you're liking this video right now? And what's inside the smartphone? Well, right now we're going to look inside a smartphone. But before that, if you're new here and like the content of the video, please consider subscribing and pressing the bell button. Also give the video a thumbs up and leave your thoughts as a comment below. As a whole, we can divide a smartphone into two segments, the hardware components and the software components. We'll now look at the software components first. This is going to be an overview and we won't be going into details of how an app is created or how it works, or the coding part of it. A software is defined as a set of programs, procedures and routines associated with operation of a system, in this case, a smartphone. An operating system, like Android, is a software. Similarly, iOS is a software. The operating system acts as a bridge between the user and the hardware. To simplify this, the operating system tells the phone what to do depending on your input. For example, when you click on a camera icon on the screen, it's the operating system which tells the hardware to activate the camera and display the app on the screen. It acts as a middleman between you and your phone. Other than the operating system, which, by the way, is the most important software on your phone, apps or application software, as the name suggests, are softwares created to achieve specific functions, like an app for doing calculations. These applications are designed to run on top of the operating system and communicate to your phone via the operating system. Now, let's come to the bits of the phone that you can actually touch. The hardware. The first obvious part is the casing, the outer shell of the phone. The casings are manufactured using various materials with respect to the price point of the phone. The cheaper ones can have a plastic casing, and the more premium ones would have an aluminum or a steel case, usually topped with a layer of glass. So that you can see your fingerprints everywhere. As the smartphones have evolved over the years, opening the case of a smartphone has gone from something you could do with your hands to requiring specialized equipment. Well, in most cases a hairdryer and some prying tools ought to do it. So, let's assume we have the tools and we have opened a modern smartphone. What will we find inside? The biggest and the most obvious part will be the battery, the power source of your phone, and also the part which sometimes turns the phone into a fireball. But leaving that aside, most smartphones are powered by a lithium-ion battery. Also, some newer phones come with lithium polymer batteries. Lithium-ion batteries are the most commonly used rechargeable batteries in portable electronics. The capacity of the battery is represented using milliamp hours or mAh. For example, a battery with a rating of 1800 mAh can deliver a current of 1800 milliamps for 1 hour. The higher the rating, the longer the runtime. In other words, the higher the better. But keep in mind that as the capacity increases, so does the size of the battery. Let's now talk about the other components. We can talk about the motherboard, which will link all these components together in the end. Now we'll look at the camera module. The camera module, obviously, houses the camera setup and the circuitry for connecting the same to the motherboard. In certain mid-range and many premium phones, the camera comes with OIS, or Optical Image Stabilization. The OIS system, as the name suggests, helps in stabilizing the image by using sensors like a gyroscope to counteract the shakes that occur during capture. This is achieved by moving the camera relative to the shake. The quality of an image captured by a smartphone's camera depends mostly on the image sensor of the camera and not so much on the megapixels. So just because you have a 40 megapixel camera does not mean you have a good camera. The better the image sensor, the better the images. Keep that in mind when you're choosing your next phone. Next up, we'll quickly graze over the other bits inside the phone, starting with the sensors. Almost all phones will have the following sensors, starting with the accelerometer. It's used by apps to detect the orientation of the device and its movements. This allows for features like shaking your phone to switch off an alarm. Next is a gyroscope. It works along with the accelerometer to detect the rotation of your phone for features like tilting your phone for playing racing games, or tilting to change the orientation of a video maybe. Then some phones will have a digital compass. It performs the same function as a normal compass. It points you to the north. An ambient light sensor. This sensor is automatically able to set the screen brightness based on the ambient light in your surroundings. This helps to conserve the battery life. Now, this also explains why the brightness automatically changes when you go from inside your home to outside, or when you go from a well-lit environment to somewhere where there is less light. The next sensor is called the proximity sensor. This is usually located on the top of the phone near the earpiece. It detects proximity, and it helps in switching the screen off when you're taking a call and you bring the phone near your ear. In addition to this list is the fingerprint scanner. That's now commonly found in almost all smartphones. Also, some high-end models might even have other sensors, like a heart rate sensor for the Samsung Galaxy series. Other components include the microphone setup, which takes your voice input and converts it into the digital signal, the speaker array for voice output, the physical buttons for power and volume. Now, linking all these parts together is the motherboard, or SoC, system on a chip. This consists of the CPU, which is the main processing unit, the GPU, which is the graphics processing unit, the LTE modem, which is used for connectivity, the display processor, video processor, and other bits. Also, along with this will be the memory, the RAM, and storage. This is where your pictures go. Also, nowadays it goes to the cloud, but that's for another video. Finally, let's now look at a bit I kept for the end, the part of the smartphone that you interact with the most, the display, the most obvious feature of a smartphone. Displays can be mainly divided into two, either an LCD or an LED display. Now, I am not going to explain how an LED or an LCD display works, or what the difference between them is. But to put it simply, the cheaper phones tend to have an LCD display, while the premium ones have an LED, AMOLED, or Super AMOLED display. Of course, there are exceptions. There are always exceptions. But this is kind of the general rule. The AMOLED screen usually looks better. It has deeper blacks, so you'll be able to actually figure out where Batman is standing if you decide to watch Batman Begins on an AMOLED screen. Another important aspect we need to look at is how the smartphone recognizes your touch. Almost all phones now use a technology called capacitive touch. When you touch your cell phone screen, the touch is sensed through capacitive measurements underneath the glass. In other words, the human skin holds a small electric charge. A grid under the display is able to detect this charge when you touch the screen, and that's how the phone knows where your finger is. It supports multi-touch. That means capacitive screen will be able to detect multiple touches at the same time. This is a very important piece of technology. This functionality makes your life easier by letting you pinch to zoom. Imagine this. Without this tech, you'll be stuck pressing the magnifying glass with a plus sign to zoom in on an image on your 10-inch tablet. That does not sound fun. In conclusion, it's a lot of small, complicated, precisely engineered, ingenious parts working in unison to make your smartphone do things that were considered impossible a few decades ago. The modern smartphone truly is a marvel of human innovation and engineering. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed the content, please give the video a thumbs up and comment below your thoughts on how smartphone changed our lives. Also, please consider subscribing to the channel and pressing the bell button to receive more videos decoding how the world works. Thank you for watching.